Hello everyone, I have developed this HTML website which discusses about various issues in web services. So this is a page presentation that gives a description of its issues like the ethical issues and practices, security concerns and the issues in the latest field of computer science, that is web services, which is also known as cloud computing. This page presentation has overall description of the issue, the background, what are my views in the summary, and the issues which pertain when it comes to the usage of web services. It also describes how the work has been affected due to the hacks which has occurred in the web services. So this is an emerging technology which is very cost effective, and it provides us pay as you go flexibility to the users. So coming to the home page of my page presentation, so the homepage talks about various issues and including the ethical and the security privacy issues. So it also shows a picture in which various layers of the cloud computing are shown, which include SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and the various security concerns like risk assessment and what are the various policies and guidelines that are being followed. Moreover, it also tells us how the data can be protected and how it is being governed at that level. So coming to the introduction of web services. So web services are any piece of software that are written basically in XML system, and they can be made available over the internet. It is an example of cloud computing, and web services are distributed in nature, and they can be accessed from any location by the users, and they can also use the services as they want to use. So in this page presentation, I will be discussing about various issues that many people who use web services come across. So the picture here shows why we use nowadays cloud computing, because it is very cost effective, it has high level of computing, it is secure, and it is location independent, and many other different reasons why people are nowadays sorting to use web services. So let's talk about the issues that exist when that come into picture when we use this web services. So the first issue that comes into picture is related to privacy, because as the data is distributed over a large area, and many people are accessing the same process of accessing the data. So there can be instances when the data can be misused by hackers, or it can be misused in such a way that it is changed or it is altered in a wrong way. So first issue that comes into picture is related to security and privacy. So this is ethical as well, because the companies who are responsible for the protection of the data of the customer, they should build such norms so that people who put their data on the cloud, or who are accessing the cloud for various purposes, should feel secure, because they rest their decision, and they rest their importance into the hands of the companies who vendor these kind of services. So it is an ethical concern for the people. We know that nowadays Amazon Web Services are very famous, and there are many issues which people have already faced while using Amazon Web Services. So this is a very big ethical concern which comes into picture while using web services. So let's now discuss the background of using web services and how the ethics came into picture. So as we know that cloud computing or web services are the field of IT, so we all know that all the various norms and rules that are followed for the data, or are followed for the for the IT should be followed for the same cloud services. But then at the same time, web services involve many companies and third parties. So because of that, there are many more challenges that come into picture, like how those companies should manage the data of the people, and how it can be protected from various threats like security and ethical threats. So scenario which is imagined today when it comes to web services, just 10 years ago it was very hard to imagine the scope of web services. It has developed into a very complex system that has enabled data centers throughout the world to process data and store and deliver the information over the internet. So as we all know that when anything comes into picture and internet is involved into it, there can be issues which have large shortcomings, and which have large impacts on various people and the data which is kept on the cloud. So now a little bit talking about the description. So is cloud computing ethical? The first and the foremost question comes into picture: is it ethical? So the thing which comes into my mind while studying the whole thing was ethics for companies. I think it is the companies which in whose hands the whole privacy and ethical things rest into, because it is the companies who design various norms when it comes to the security of the people. It is important for the companies to ensure the privacy of the data which people store on their cloud. Another rule in ethics is to protect the data of the users. So this is like an ethical concern for the companies as well. If they are able to save the data of the customer, that is the best ethical thing that they can do. It is also important for companies providing such services to be clear about the privacy policies to the user, so that they are not misguided by the companies regarding their policies. So anytime if any issue comes, at least the customer should be aware of what are the rules and what are the regulations that the company in which he is storing his data is following. So in a nutshell, the service providers should take the responsibility to help their customers in every possible way. So in my viewpoint, the whole discussion of ethical view of cloud computing rests into the hands of the companies which vendor such kind of services. So now coming to the appendix, I have in my project I talked to Jessica Franken. She is the partner with Quaz Bradley LLP, and I have asked her like two questions: what are the kind of data that one should upload into the cloud, and how much critical access is available to running the business. Then I also talked with Chris Siborowski. He is the founder and manager and partner of Nebula Works. I asked him regarding any scenario in which he was caught up to face to the customers for the explanations. And then I also talked to Harish Krishnamurthy, who is the senior vice president of Insight Enterprises, and I asked her even if he had faced any security issues related to the data stored in the web services. So after talking to them, the results which I faced, which I came up to was like, it is very important for the customers to see all the rules and regulations before putting their things on the cloud, because it is a very sensitive issue. So some of the responsibility lies into the hands of people as well, so that we can be concerned about what we are putting into the cloud. And also we should also know the overall architecture, that it is very complex, so if anything happens we should be prepared for it. All these kind of ethical responsibilities, we should be aware of the services and of the things that the company is offering. So coming to my opinion, as I already discussed, these things lie into the hands of the companies as well as the customers who are executing those services. So it is just a two-way process. We should be secured, and at the same time the companies should think that we are being secured and not targeted ethically or in any other possible sense. So these are the references. This discusses my detailed conversation with Jessica Franken, with Chris Siborowski and Harish Krishnamurthy. All that I had, what discussion I had with them, and what were their viewpoints. Then I have all the pages and resources that I referred. I have mentioned their references over here. So in a nutshell, this I have written the summary in this, that some of the things that we should keep in mind, and some of the ethical concerns which should be there while using the web services are proper knowledge of web services and before using them, and before sharing such technologies across the border, proper studies should be done, people should be educated wisely, and before designing such technologies, ethical issues should always be kept into mind, which should be pertaining to different countries and across the borders. And companies should also keep in mind the interest of the customer as well as everything before designing the system. So that was all about my HTML page presentation about issues in web services. Thank you so much.